Freddie Coleman joins us. We'll ask him our poll question right off the top. ESPN's Freddie Coleman every Friday morning here on Big Board Sports. Freddie and Fitz, I listened to him, as I always do, on my ride home from the mighty 1-3 last night. Good morning, Freddie. How are you?
I'm good, gentlemen. How's everybody doing in the 518 today?
We are good, man. We are absolutely rocking here. We love Fridays because we just sit back and talk NFL football for the majority of our show, and we get you on the program, so it's all good, Freddie. We had a poll question up right now. I'll ask you to answer it. Do you think right now, going into Week 11, that the Giants are a Super Bowl contending team?
I don't think there's any doubt about it because the NFC is so wide open. For every Giants team that's 6-3, or the Falcons 6-4, or Seattle 6-2-1, or the Cowboys 8-1, there are plenty of 4-6s and 4-5s, or 4-4-1s, or 5-3-1s. I don't think there's any doubt because each of those teams, any team that's in the wide open NFC, they have that one flaw that can keep them from making that Super Bowl run or having a deep run in the playoffs. And you guys are right. That Giants running game, you can't average barely 70 yards rushing per game and think that's going to work in the playoffs. So they're a contender, but we've also seen this Giants team play up to their competition and play down to their competition.
Freddie, at 4-5, do you view this weekend as a must-win for Buffalo and Cincinnati?
I view it as a must-win for anybody not named Kansas City, Oakland, New England, or Denver in the AFC, to be honest with you, because I think those four teams right now, they're head and shoulders above anybody else. So any win you get, it doesn't matter if you're playing on the road or if you're playing at home, every win is precious, especially your Buffalo. You can forget about the division. You're not going to win that division race. That's going to be New England. And look at what Miami has been able to do. That's one of the hottest teams in football that a lot of people aren't talking about right now. And if you're Cincinnati, you're still in the winnable division, but it seems only one playoff team is going to come out of the AFC North because I believe three are coming out of the AFC West. So I think the loser of this game, they can for all intents and purposes, forget about making the playoffs, more so probably for Cincinnati than Buffalo, mainly because only one team is coming out of that division.
Freddie, do you have New England going to San Francisco, Patriots coming off the Sunday night loss and blowing out the 49ers? That point spread is 13. That's a big number.
Yeah, I saw that as well, and that's Las Vegas looking for a bunch of suckers out there to see if they can get people to go heavy one way or the other and see what kind of money they can take from people. But I will say this, the 49ers are going to play hard, they're going to play tough, they're going to play aggressive. They just don't have anybody talented on their team, whether it's defensively or offensively. And you know the Patriots are still going to be completely starched after the way they lost to Seattle on Sunday night, and they're going to try to take that out, and I will believe that they will take it on the San Francisco 49ers. Gronkowski not playing to me is immaterial because Tom Brady will find enough weapons in the passing game to get the ball to them against a suspect San Francisco 49ers secondary. But I saw that spread as well, and that's the kind of spread where I say to myself, you know what? I could see the Patriots fulfilling that spread and beating San Francisco by at least 17.
Hey, I got to ask you again about Buffalo here for another week in a row. They're 4-5, but I thought, Freddie, they played their best football game against Seattle. I thought they outplayed the Seahawks going into the bye. Unfortunately, they got Seattle's best punch at home as well. How do you look at that game this weekend against Cincinnati?
I think the best thing that could have happened to Buffalo was having that bye week to kind of retool, re-energize, and recharge themselves. Because when you play in a game like that, where you have plenty of chances to win, especially in a tough place to win on the road in Seattle at CenturyLink Field, there's going to be an inevitable letdown. And I think having a week in between your next game for Buffalo could really be a boon to them going into this game versus Cincinnati. That being said, when you have a team like Buffalo, your margin of error gets slimmer and slimmer and slimmer, not just when it comes to the playoff race in the AFC, but how you're going to win football games. And you can best believe Cincinnati gave the Giants a little bit of everything before they lost that game by 1 point in the fourth quarter, playing that game on the road. So they're in the same situation that Buffalo is. I just wonder which offensive weaponry is going to be better. Is it going to be what I saw from Cincinnati and what I saw from their offense and A.J. Green at times, or what Buffalo's offense, which looked really good against an elite Seattle defense, how much of that could show itself and make it tough on Cincinnati's defense?
Hey, Freddie, I thought it was a class act this week when Tony Romo greeted the media and basically said, look, I get it here, folks. This is Dak Prescott's team. What was your thoughts on his little press conference?
Well, in Dallas, everything is going to be done bigger because everything is bigger in Texas, especially with that team with the star in the helmet. But I'm with you, Roger, in terms of it could have been very easy for Tony Romo not to say anything because reports came out that he wanted to have a chance to fight for his job back. And Jason Garrett and Jerry Jones said, look, we can't disrupt this. We can't uproot this, what Dak Prescott has been able to do with this offense and Ezekiel Elliott helping out our defense. As much respect and accountability that Tony Romo has always brought to that position, you can't go away from a guy that's 8-1 as a rookie quarterback. You have to stay with that guy. So Tony Romo made it a point to say, hey, look, if things go wrong, I'm not going to cause a distraction. It'll be because we're not winning football games. It's not going to be because of me being on the sidelines or in practice wanting my job back. It was completely very unselfish. It was very selfless. But to be honest with you, based on what I've heard and seen from Tony Romo, I'm not entirely surprised, but it was a great move nonetheless.
Freddie Coleman with us, Freddie and Fitz on ESPN, and Freddie, our guest every Friday morning in this time slot. Freddie, Seattle, in your opinion, are they now starting to roll here, and you could see them really kicking their season into high gear? They had the win over New England. Now they're home this week against Philadelphia. You think this Seahawks team under Pete Carroll is ready to start a roll?
Yeah, I can definitely see that because I've seen this before from this team, and two things really stood out to me about why I feel that way. Number one, Jimmy Graham is starting to look like that elite tight end once again. And even though their running game has been spotty and their offensive line has without question been suspect, when that guy has made such a big difference where you can get the ball to him in the red zone, he can threaten the middle of a defense. All of a sudden now it makes the outside wide receivers even more formidable with Russell Wilson. So that's number one. And number two, even though they gave up 24 points to the Patriots, there's no shame in that with that defense, mainly because that was the hardest 24 points I think I've seen the New England Patriots try to score in a regular season game. That's tough to see how the defense was against them that made the Patriots work for that. So after dealing with the Patriots, there's not going to be an offense, especially playing Atlanta, who they played early this year. They're not going to see those kind of offenses the rest of their schedule, which means their defense could be even better as they get into the playoffs. And I'll tell anybody out there this, and I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, you better make sure Seattle does not get the number one seed in the playoffs, because if they do, nobody's going to go in there and beat them in a playoff game and try to get out of the NFC.
Freddie, a lot of Jet fans frustrated this year, as they should be, coming off that 10-win season last year, and a lot of criticism on the head coach Todd Bowles right now, and who knows what they're going to do with the quarterbacking situation. Sounds like it'll be Fitzpatrick, because Bowles still wants to win games instead of looking, to me, at the bigger picture about what the future is at that position. But what is your current view of the Jets head coach Todd Bowles?
Well, I think Todd Bowles is in a situation where he has no choice but to go to Ryan Fitzpatrick because, Roger, you said it. No NFL head coach wants to put that message out there that we're done for the season, even though the players clearly know that and the organization clearly knows that. But nobody's going to mention that elephant in the room. That is the case with the New York Jets. And no one should be surprised, Roger, that the Jets are playing like this, because people will talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick and the stats last year and how he was the MVP for the New York Jets. He played well and above anybody had any expectation for him. Well, let's remember this. If you watch the games closely, there were plenty of awful throws he made that Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall bailed him out of last year with his football team. So it was only going to be the opposite, where he was going to make those bad throws again, but it's not going to happen back-to-back years where that's going to work for you. So I'm not surprised that we've seen the Jets be a 3-7 team so far, but I'm not putting this on Todd Bowles. Management basically said, okay, are we going to go into the season with Geno Smith, or are we going to have Ryan Fitzpatrick, knowing what we've seen from Ryan Fitzpatrick in the past? So we've seen the bad Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's affected this football team. It's affected this defense. But I'm not putting this all on Todd Bowles, because this was the hand he was dealt. They thought they would be better, but that schedule and Ryan Fitzpatrick being the Ryan Fitzpatrick we've seen leads us to where we are now, and nobody should be surprised about that. But I'm not putting this on Todd Bowles. I just thought this would happen anyway with the New York Jets this year.
Freddie, you've been watching football for decades, and once upon a time you were a player yourself. Do you recall seeing a reaction like you saw last night from Luke Kuechly, and did that leave an impression on you?
It's funny you mentioned that, because last night when I talked about that on the show, I can't remember. I've seen players get emotional when they have an injury, or I've seen that before, but nothing like that where he's just sitting up and just flat out weeping. And when I first saw that, I'm thinking, okay, not saying that a concussion is not a serious injury. Anybody that's had concussions, not trying to minimize that. But I've seen that reaction from guys where they have not had a concussion, where they've had a torn ACL, an Achilles injury, whatever that was. So when I saw that from him, I think, okay, what happened on that play? Because I didn't see it when I saw the replay. And then the Carolina Panthers said that he was diagnosed with a concussion. My first thought was, after that, was, okay, has somebody told him that, hey, you better be careful, because another concussion could mean the end of your career, or you're not going to be able to play the linebacker position the way you're used to playing. When he had that kind of reaction, I'm thinking, okay, what other intel could be out there that led to that? Because if it's a concussion, it's the first time he's had one, then he's okay, those things happen. But it seems that he's had this before, and I wonder if someone has told him or put it out to him saying, hey, Luke, you can't play like this. You have another concussion. You have to seriously think about doing something else. And I wonder how much of that flooded over him, entered into his mind, and then we saw that emotional reaction from him when he was carted off the field with a concussion, even though they beat the Saints last night.
Well, listen, I hope everything. We all prayers and thoughts with Luke Kuechly, an emotional scene last night on the field in Carolina in a 23-20 victory by the home team over New Orleans. Freddie, always a pleasure, man. We pump you up all week, promo one after another here, letting our listeners know when you're going to be on and what time you're going to be on the Friday show. And I know our ratings are only going to go up because of it.
Well, I tell you what, as long as I'm not lowering the bar, then we're doing well from that standpoint. And it's always one of my favorite parts of the week, having a chance to chop it up and talk football with you guys, man. Always love talking with you guys.
Thank you, Freddie. Have a great weekend.
You too. Always good to talk to you. I'll talk to you next week.
Freddie Coleman. That's appointment, right? That's what we call this on this show. Appointment time for Freddie Coleman.
He's the man.
Just lock him in. 10:30 on Friday. We've had him since week 1, and we're going to have him all the way right through to the Super Bowl. Freddie Coleman reacting and previewing week 11 of the NFL season.